And they're like, we lost 4 men on this expedition. You've got to find a better way to make ice. Hey, I'm Dave. Welcome to Shop Talk, the feature in Dave's Garage where we take things that weren't worth doing an entire episode over, but we want to talk about, and we talk about them. I'm joined by my co-host, Glenn. How are you doing, Glenn?
I'm doing fine, Dave.
So I think I'm going to start off with some iPhone 16 rumors. Rumors because they're not announced by Apple, but these come from Kai, and Kai is normally very reliable and seems to have the straight scoop on most stuff. So we'll see how much of this turns out to be true, but this is what I know. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so what have you got, an iPhone 6?
No, I got twice that. I got two of those. I got a 12.
You got a 12, you got a full pack?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what the CPU is in that, but we're going to the A18 up from the A17, and it's going to be slightly faster than the A17, which is already way faster than everything I have, which is faster than you need anyway, because I never felt my phone was slow. So, but they are adding more neural cores. For the AI features. Pardon me, more neural cores for the AI features.
Right.
And then they're adding a new graphene thermal solution to address iPhone 15 overheating issues. I don't have an iPhone 15, so I'm not aware of these issues. Not stuck. I still have a 14.
Oh, I thought you were rocking the 15. But...
Not Dave's Soviet mini phone?
Yes, that one, comrade.
iPhone 14.
Yeah.
I just do that so that when I pair it to a rental car and then leave, the last one is Dave's Soviet mini phone.
Yeah, I still think you got to get a couple Cyrillic characters in there just to really sell it. But
I should. If I knew any, I would. Screen's getting slightly larger, going from 6.1 to 6.3, and the 6.9 or going from 6.7 to 6.9. And the batteries are increasing 6 to 9%, which I can't do that math in my head to tell you if it's the same increase as the screen size, but we'll assume you'll get better battery life. There's a new Qualcomm X75 modem in there that combines millimeter wave and sub-6, so you get better power usage because it's all on the same chip now. Apparently also will support Wi-Fi 7, which will be nice. If you get a Wi-Fi 7 home router, then it should be smoking fast. They've improved the cameras, and apparently there's one more lens element each. And I assume that means in the stack of lenses as opposed to going from 3 cameras to 4 cameras. I assume it means there's a new optical element in the lens stack.
yeah, because there's only 2 lenses, and they've got them mounted one on top of the other.
In the fancier phones, as you might see when you come to my house, they have 3 lenses, I think. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
3 lenses.
Yeah, but the new one's just moving to 2 lenses, one on top, one on the bottom. So if you're talking about 4, then they must be putting, I guess, 2 in each or 3 in one in the other.
Why do you think they're moving to 2?
No, they just, that's one rumor that I saw.
Oh, really?
Well, the other curious thing is apparently they release sort of aluminum molds of what the look like so that the people who manufacture cases can get them done. So there's a few little things that folks are gleaning from that as well. So.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't send out like 4 different cases and say, quote all these, and then tell us what the prices is on each of these phones. You don't know which one is the real one, but.
Yeah, I guess if they were really worried about releasing that, they might do it, so.
Yeah, I guess. They're probably not that concerned.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you. Get back to your list there, man.
What else? We got improved cameras with one more lens element each, and ultra-wide goes from 12 megapixel f2.4 to 48 megapixel f2.2. And
48 megapixels. I'm still back in the old days where, 2 or 3 megapixels and 2 meg photos were big. This is
amazing. A 4K photo is about right, I think. You can always have more, but 4K is about enough.
And still making us nice advertisement on the side of a bus.
Yeah, exactly. At 48 megapixels, I don't think you could do a bus ad at 48. Probably.
Yeah.
They used to do it at 35 millimeters. So the video capture is adding 3K 120 in Dolby Vision HDR. So now your made on iPhone movies can be that much more exciting. And the charging is going from 27 to 40 watts. That's when you're plugged in. And 15 to 20, is that right? 15 to 20, I think, when you're in the wireless charging mode.
Nice.
20 watts through wireless charging. Seems like a lot of power. Like you can't get your hand in between it, obviously, but.
Yeah. Is the cable getting thicker?
Well, no, they'll just go to a higher voltage on the lightning cable or whatever, I assume. Or are they already USB-C? Is that why they can do it? Because you just go with a higher voltage step on the USB-C standard?
That might be it.
Like you can go 240 watts on the MacBook cable now. So that's a lot of power through a little USB-C cable. So last time we talked about the Linus Tech Tips hack.
Yeah.
And I thought we should take some time to talk about password managers.
Ooh.
And password managers are one of those things that you probably either use or you don't use, but if you don't use, you probably should. So if you're not using one now, let me preach a little bit and explain why you want one. First of all, basically you remember one main complex password and then the software, which you have to trust. If your issue is I don't trust the software, then I can't help you. If you don't trust the company keeping it, that's another issue. But presumably these things are trustworthy enough, and I tend to trust them. I use Google's by convenience. I used to use the Apple one, but then I switched away from Safari back to Chrome, and so pretty much all my passwords are web-based passwords. So I've been using the Chrome password manager for the last couple of years, and I've got everything in it now, and I'm pretty happy with it. And I figure if Google has a big data breach and leaks everybody's password, it means two things. One, I'll hear about it on the news, so I won't have to find out myself. And two, my password would be one of millions or billions of passwords out there, and so there would be a much bigger catastrophe than my personal account, I figure.
Yeah, I moved to a password manager a couple of years ago on the recommendation of a friend, and just yeah, it's been hugely beneficial in multiple ways.
Yeah. The big thing is that on every site that you visit, you use your one password and you get a strong, incomprehensible password for every individual site. And the password manager via the browser takes care of filling that in for you. Yeah. And the reason this is really important is because some of the math is, I think, a little deceptive. Like people think, well, I've got a complex password now. It's banana 1492.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, you picked one of the, top 10 historical dates and an English word that has like 4 vowels in it. So 3. Anyway.
Yeah.
If you take 6 digits or 6 letters and you just want to make up random non-English words with it, there's 26 to the 6, 300 and some million, I'm guessing, roughly. Some large number anyway, let's say that.
Is that permutation or combination? 26 choose 6 over 26 minus 6? Or, there's some formula for it that I should know.
Yeah, that's when you have to choose so many from so many, but this one, you don't worry about repeats, so it doesn't matter. It's just 26 to the 6th power, I guess. I'm assuming. That feels right. I'm going to go with that. I shouldn't have questioned myself.
That gives something to talk about in the comments.
Exactly. Now, how many six-letter words are there in the English language? There's only like 50,000 words in common use. Right. Most people stick to about 20,000 words. How many of those are 6-digit words? Not many. So how many words do you actually have that are 6 digits long? I don't know, let's say a couple thousand. Well, when you're talking about a computer cracking or hashing these passwords and you slap a 4-digit code on, all that makes it is 10,000 times as hard as nothing. Right. 10,000 times nothing is nothing. It can probably hash a password that is an English word and a 4-digit password in under a second, I would guess. So there's not a lot of security there. The other big thing that I really like about password managers is it will not fill the form if the cert on the website doesn't match.
Ooh.
So let's say you get an email pop-up that says, hey, did you log into this website? Did you log into your Twitter from Russia, perhaps? And then you click on it, and it takes you to the page that says, well, we need to verify that it's you. Instead of typing in your credentials, if you're using a password manager, it will fill it for you, but it will only fill it if all the certificate and the chain is correct.
Okay, that's a piece of information that I was completely naive to and unaware of. That is an even bigger seller for me now.
Yeah, it's not just firing that into any form that pops up. Maybe on the Windows side, if you're using a Windows password manager, you could be hooked. But on the website, it won't fill it unless the cert is valid. So It is a great security feature.
Yeah.
And your passwords, of course, are synced across all your devices. So when I go from my MacBook to my desktop to my Windows PC, because I'm using Chrome across all of those platforms, they're always there. And what's really nice, the things I like is on the iPhone, as long as it can see your face, it will fill forms for you because it knows you're there and it knows who you are. And I think on the MacBook, you just use the fingerprint reader and it fills the form for you. I assume Windows Hello and Android have similar features, but I don't really know because I don't have a Windows Hello camera that does live detection and stuff, so I've never used that.
And if you have an older Mac, like I do, then once you've logged into the app on the Mac, then it automatically does it. Doesn't need any. You have to verify your password the first time you log in, then you're good to go.
Yeah, when your Mac starts, it's a little square Mac with a happy face on it. Is that the one? Or is it newer?
Start it before I go to bed. Yeah, so it's ready to roll in the morning. Yeah.
You ever see it's a pretty common channel, Technology Connections on YouTube?
Not that I recall, but I may have stumbled on it.
Yeah, if you see it, it's like a dude in a suit with like a lot of hair, and then he's got colored cabinets behind him, and he does things on like an hour dissertation on air conditionings and heat pumps. And it's a great channel. He can be a little preachy on some topics that are close to his heart, but in general, it's very enjoyable and pretty informative. It kind of takes the place of Modern Marvels for me in a way. Remember that show?
Oh, yeah. Wow.
I think I've seen every Modern Marvels episode, and I maintain that if you watch, like, there's got to be 500 of them. If you watch them, that's like not a graduate degree, a bachelor's degree in something.
Yeah, right.
I don't know in what.
General stuff.
You know, I've been tempted sometimes to do general tech issues because I'm in a shop here, and there's a lot of stuff that, you know, I could do an episode on EFI or fuel injection or how a computer works in the car and things like that. I tend not to because there are channels that do that well, and Technology Connections is one of those channels that I think does it really well, so keeps me out of the business. But he recently did an episode on, are you ready? Door openers.
Whoa.
You know the hydraulic ones with the arm that go up at the top of the door?
Yeah.
So when you open the door, it holds it, and then it slowly closes.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's got one of them around them. Hotels have thousands of them usually, and they're all customizable and adjustable, but nobody does it. And it'll be marked S, usually for swing, and then there's one that says L, and that's for the latch. So you can have it go really fast and then slow down so it doesn't crush fingers. Or you can have it go kind of slow and then go fast at the end to make sure it latches properly, depending on how your door is set up and stuff. So
I will validate that tomorrow at work.
You can adjust them all. Get a little stepladder and...
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have been told because that'll probably be a distraction. I'll be playing with it for a long time, but yeah.
In our old house, our first house, when we just had kids, they are like spring-loaded hinges on the door.
Yeah.
Like there's fire codes.
The door, I think those are by code in my house from the inside of the house to the garage door. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where ours was. So that's considered a fire door. It has to remain closed, and to be cheap, they just put these spring-loaded hinges on there. But if you got kids, that door's going a pretty fast clip by the time it hits the stop. And I was always afraid of it, you know, not chopping off, but at least mangling somebody's fingers. So I put a door opener on our back door. What I didn't know is there are different types too, because how they store energy, whether the bypass valve works really well, makes it easy to open, and how hard the spring is to compress. Because I think I got a little too heavy-duty one for the door we had, a little hard to open, but... And you get other features in there, like a door hold open feature if you open it all the way.
Right.
But it'll only hold it for like 1 minute. So if I got to carry this box in and out, you can prop it all the way open. It'll wait a minute or 2 minutes, whatever the delay is, and then close automatically. So
that reminds me of those old aluminum screen doors you used to have on the front of your house, and always adjusting that little clip for how fast it opened or closed, and then getting grease all over your fingers. And the good old days.
Yeah, those things have been around for like 100 years. They've got our best people on it, and the only thing they come up with is a little slide tab that jams the piston, that you get dirty every time you touch it, like you said. It's got to be a better way, man.
Yeah.
Remember that one on The Simpsons? When Pooh is at the store, and Homer comes in for ice, and while Homer's there getting the ice, the Arctic explorers come in, and they've got like a new block of ice, and they're like, "We lost 4 men on this expedition. You've got to find a better way to make ice." I love that one. So I wrapped up my big PDP-11, well, not the medium-sized PDP-11 today. Got everything finally working.
Okay. This isn't one of the ones you made from your tickle trunk. This is actually one of the legit ones.
Yeah, it's a PDP-11 83. It's the big tower. And it came from a guy, a viewer for the channel, because I had lamented in an episode I didn't have any PDP hardware yet. Some guy reached out and said, well, I've got an old 1183, no idea if it works. Do you want it? Pay shipping and all that business. So got it here. And it's a great big tower, 9 slots. I'll show it to you in a second. But
so he sent you the whole piece again. So
the whole thing, yeah.
2 of these now, essentially.
Well, I've got the guts from one.
Oh.
And I've got a real one.
Right.
So this is the real one. And it's funny because guess what was the first thing I did? I went through the power supply and changed all the capacitors. This was like 6 months ago or 9 months ago, but... when I opened it up to check it out, just to make sure before I powered it on, I could see they're called Reefa caps. They're like these yellow rectangular boxes.
Right. I think you've mentioned those before to me.
Yeah, and my understanding is they go across the AC rails and they act as a noise filter. So what happens is they eventually decay out with old age and they melt or whatever happens. You power it on and you get boom and a really horrible smell comes out and a lot of smoke. But once they burn, they're no longer across the main, so they don't reduce the noise, but they don't have any impact on the system. So you could just blow them all up and ride it out, but I wouldn't recommend that.
Well, the capacitor, that was what was causing that the click. That was the problem on the PDP-11.
On the 34, yeah, but that was a small capacitor on the control board.
Tiny little thing, and you just happen to have one in the drawer.
Yeah.
Boom.
And somebody online on the PDP-11 forums knew it, because I posted, like, here's my contactor, it's cycling, and some guy says, yeah, replace capacitor Q5 or C5 or whatever it was.
Yeah, I think you got a live response to that or in like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, it was real time almost, too.
Yeah,
like you're saying.
It was wild, yeah. Oh, you're going all fancy with camera 2 here.
I remember when my daughter was much younger and the iPhone 7 days. And so she had the 7, I think, and I still had the 6. And I always liked the 6. I liked that form factor. I thought it was a great phone. So I kept it for a while. And so one day she says to me, Dad, does it bother you the girls in my class have a better phone than you? I'm like, no, it doesn't actually. But I can tell it matters to you. So
So did you upgrade?
No, not right away. Eventually I did.
So you need to be embarrassed with her classmates about her father and his antiquated phone. Yeah.
Yeah. So the PDP-11, I had bought 2 512 meg RAM board, 512K, I should say.
Yeah.
RAM boards. Put those in for a megabyte of RAM. It came with a tape drive in it for like a cartridge tape that you could load into it and do backups to.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And there's only room for one drive unit in there, so I took that out and I put in a dual floppy drive unit that I bought brand new in the box as NOS, still in the original deck box. And it wasn't super expensive. There just didn't seem to be any demand for it. So I'm like, well, if nobody's going to take it, I'll buy it. So.
And what size is the floppy in that then?
They're 5 1/4.
Oh, okay.
They're really weird, though, in that it's like one drive powers 2 mechanisms. So there's only one set of stepper motor, I think. And the drives have to be mounted, or the floppies go in facing out. I'll cover this later to a certain extent, but you can't format a floppy. DEC only sold pre-formatted floppies. As kind of a price thing. But what I did is I found somebody had an image of a DEC floppy, and I used my grease weasel to write that, and then just stuck it in the drive, deleted all the files, initialized it, and so now I've got a blank floppy that works. But it was because DEC's not around to buy a box of pre-formatted floppies.
Grease weasel?
Grease weasel. Let's see. No, I can't hold it. Yeah, I can do it. Hang on. Ugh. This.
Oh, that's what you meant.
This is a grease weasel. So here it's got a connector to go to the 34-pin drive on a floppy drive. And here's USB-C. So you plug this into the computer, this into a good drive, and then you run the software.
Oh.
And you can read and write floppy images at a really low level. And it works, I think in Neo you can do Amiga floppies on a 3.5-inch. I think. I shouldn't make that claim, but my understanding is that the way it writes the flux and all that, it's not like a PC controller. It's got much more direct access to the heads and stuff, so it should be able to write them. But what else? Oh, I put an Ethernet adapter in this one, so it's on the internet, and I can ping Google, and you can FTP and Telnet into the PDP now from the web.
Nice.
There's no secure way to do it, so what I did is I set up Telnet internally, and then I'm running a Linux container that has an SSH host server, so you SSH to it, and it just behind the scenes redirects you. So you get into it with SSH instead of Telnet, because Telnet's not secure.
Right, yeah.
Then I added its little AUI to RJ45 brick goes on the back, because the network port coming out of here is like an old game port. It's like a 15-pin, I forget what AUI stands for. It's like thick Ethernet, I think they called it 10-base-5 or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I had to plug it into a 1 gigabit switch, because I've got a 10 gigabit switch on the bench, but it wouldn't see it. And I learned this last time I did it, so I made sure I wired it this time into the 1 gig switch, because it's actually either a 5 or a 10 meg Ethernet connection, probably 5. But it just didn't work with a switch. Like, it couldn't go that slow.
Right.
So I added the Cubone so that I could simulate other operating system storage volumes, like boot RT11 and boot RSX11, so I could get in and make this controller work and everything. And I wanted to eventually boot from a physical hard drive instead of always booting from an emulated drive. I wanted a real machine that, it didn't have a Cubone or an emulator or a storage. Yeah, something cool and pure.
Yeah.
And I wanted to boot off the damn drive. So it took a lot of steps to get there. One of the problems is there's There's a physical disk controller in the machine, and then there's a virtual disk controller on the Cubone. So when I go to start the operating system so I can bring it up and get an image and eventually boot it off the physical drive, I can't see both at once.
Right.
And so I tried jumpering the real controller to go to a secondary address, but then I couldn't boot because the EEPROM doesn't know to look at the secondary address to do the initial boot scan. So a guy named Mark Matlock wrote me an awesome bootloader in Macro 11 assembly language that can boot off either controller depending on where you put the address, and it can have 4 drives connected. And he sent it to me because I reached out this morning and I was like, here's my problem. And about 2 hours later, I get back this code dump and a binary, and it's like, here, try my new bootloader. So
another real-time solution from the community.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That's wicked.
So it was kind of an either-or solution. I could get one to work, but not both. And with the new bootloader, I can, depending on what address, like if you jump to the address 10,000, you'll get the first drive. 10,010, you'll get the second drive. 10,020, you'll get the third drive, and so on. So you can select which drive. And so now on this PDP-11, I can triple boot into RT11, RSX11, or BSD211. And I got the floppies working today, and it was like this last-minute thing when I imaged an old disk because I couldn't write to them because I was trying to format them, and it would just fail.
Right.
So, and I had no idea why, so I went on the forums again today, and I'm like, so what am I doing wrong here? And they're like, well, you can't. You have to buy floppies.
So this is stuff that's happened over the last, 24 hours, or maybe even the last 12.
Yeah, I just got the format working 20 minutes before. So
Nice.
What else is going on in the world? Zuckerberg
Uh-oh.
Facebook came out with a letter, and he said Facebook was pressured to censor COVID information. Not just misinformation, but inconvenient information, including satire and humor and basically anything that they didn't like at the time. I'll give you the direct quote, so I'm not interpreting it.
Excellent.
I'll read it in ASMR.
Yes.
Senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Zuckerberg said.
Wow.
Back in 2021, President Biden said that social media platforms were killing people with misinformation, which might be true, but it's not a good justification for the COVID information suppression. I mean, I'm not going to get political, and I'm not a politically outward guy anyway. It's kind of like religion. I keep it private, but it's up to the government to provide reliable information that people come to trust, and ideally trust more than the dude they heard on Facebook. That's always going to be a strong instinct for some folks, but I figure reputations are made, not mandated. So one of the things we were going to do is address some viewer questions from the comment section.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're going to ask me, but I may have seen the questions at some point in the comment section, but
yeah,
we'll find out.
I think to start with, sort of to stay on theme, we'll start with some stuff sort of related to the last piece you were talking about. So the first one here, and again, I'm going to sort of read them as they came. So why doesn't Windows sandbox all their apps by default so that one app can't hijack the session tokens from Chrome? It seems like a broken design.
It does, to a certain extent. The only part I don't understand, and I'll tell you the reason why I think they don't. I mean, there are obviously performance and compatibility and user experience reasons why you don't want to sandbox every app off into its own little closet. But why not at least keep Chrome locked down? And I think part of the reason is that when you're in Chrome, it doesn't matter what page you go to, you don't want to have to re-authenticate every time you start Chrome and go to a web page. And so everything in Chrome appears to have access across websites to the local session cookies. What I don't get is why, if you are in email and you launch an app that turns out to be malware, why it has access to the Google process or the Chrome process's session cookies. It could be as simple as they're stored on disk. But then why aren't they encrypted to the current session in some way? Oh, because then if you closed Chrome and then reopened it, you would have to log back in. So it's got to be able to persist it, I guess. This one edge case of why they can't lock down Chrome so that external apps can't get it, that I'm not entirely sure.
So the other thing then is, so if this branch prediction is added to Windows, does that change the drag racing results from your Prime Sieve?
No, they were all run under Linux.
Okay. That's
in order to get the same software and environment across a wide range of platforms, we kind of standardized on Linux for the drag racing.
Right. Thanks to Rutger. just like saying his name.
And Tudor.
What's that?
Tudor is the other guy.
Oh, right. Yeah, there's two.
Yeah, there's two guys kind of responsible for the prime civ. It's Rutger and Tudor. So.
And where's Tudor residing?
Overseas.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. I knew this. I just forgot. I always thought he was also in the Netherlands, but he's not. Right. He's in Europe. I mean, I know that.
So someone says, again, we're sort of staying in the vernacular, the old technology, the PDP stuff. What I don't get about those old machines with no other input or output than the blinking lights and switches is how would those systems produce work? Like you input a ton of data somehow and then the lights blink and that's your output. Can someone explain what they're missing? I suspect that comment was maybe intended for other people to respond to in the comments, but I thought you might be able to provide some insight on that. I mean, they're beautiful to look at, but that's not really the output, is it?
No, it's like I had a Seahawks player over here the other day, and he was looking at the 1134, and he's like, it's cool, but what does it do? Like, nothing. Well, I said, it can do bookkeeping and accounting and maybe some basic word processing and that kind of stuff. I don't know if they used it for word processing back then, but on the older computers, most of the output was, of course, printout or on the screen. So that was your user interface. There were graphics terminals for things like Lunar Lander and so on, but they were fairly uncommon and for specialized, not for gaming, they were for specialized scientific applications, right? What usually happened is that these machines would process information. So you would say, get all your customer information for your 10,000 customers that you have, and you would load them all into a table on the disk. Now you want to send out your bills. Well, you need to group them by zip code, sort them, and then have them printed out in the right stack order. And so just the act of taking your big database file, sorting it by zip code, organizing all the data, printing out all the envelopes, that'd be the kind of work that you could do with it. So you're not doing Visual Studio interactive graphics stuff with it, but you're doing a lot of data processing.
And the input would come from either some other source of data, but is this punch card stuff, or are we moving?
This is mostly post punch card. So you could use paper tape on the PDP, but normally you would use either magnetic tape or a disk.
Yeah, so you're reading in from one disk, you're processing it, and then the output may go into a printer or onto some other disk.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That's why your machine's got what? It's got two fixed disks in it and one
removable, yeah.
Yeah, so and what's it? Those things are they like 12-inch platters or something?
They gotta be 12 or 14.
Yeah.
The cabinet's 19, so they're a good size.
Yeah. Oh,
give me one more question.
Let's go. Are you going to run VMS on one of the PDP-11s?
If I can. I tried to boot it yesterday, and I could not get it to start on the 1173. I don't know if the micro PDP 1173 can run VMS, because there was a micro VAX. For all I know, because I'm kind of new to this, you need the micro VAX to run VMS. But if it can be done on the PDP-11, I will certainly try.
Okay. The last one that someone's asking, how often do you or we or is it planned to release videos like this? This is our second one in like 2 days.
We're just kind of practicing, right? So I was hoping we would probably get to once a week and ideally have a regular release schedule, like Friday evenings or something where it comes out and people can look forward to knowing when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't we sort of talked about doing the first one, then just did it. We haven't even had any discussion since then, and we've done the second one now, but I think that's part of for me, that's sort of some regularity and a bit of a flow to it, and we'll get a bit of a system and I think going right now, we're just sort of toying with it, so.
Yeah, one thing that is kind of important is if you're a viewer of the channel and you're not subscribed, but you got this episode and kind of enjoy this format, please subscribe, even though I know and you know that subscribing doesn't make a damn difference in what videos you see. It serves as a vote of confidence for the channel, and more important, it tells me that people actually like this content. Because otherwise I could be producing content that's driving subscribers away, and I have no idea. So I kind of look at likes are too generally positive. So the subscription counts are what I really look to. So if you're liking this content, hit the subscribe button.
Right. And that was another comment too someone mentioned about, moving it to another channel and not hurting the algorithm. I'm concerned. I don't want to make my presence hurt your the reputation of your channel or have any negative impact, but I'm not sure exactly how that algorithm works or if anyone really does. But.
Yeah, me either. If it had any sustained negative impact, I guess I would either move it to the Dave's Attic channel or not do it, one of the two, but I don't think that's the case. And I've seen, I've put out a video that's really a niche topic on the PDP-11 disc or something, and then couple of days later, I put up the CrowdStrike episode, which did over 2-some million views in 2 days.
Yeah.
And it's not like the algorithm punished me for the other episodes. So.
Yeah, and you're still going to work on that to-do list of some of the longer form episodes and the sort of.
Oh yeah, I'll still be doing the regular episodes each week, ideally. So, and I will see you in the next one.